Welcome to WeAreChange News. I'm Andrew Meyer, and yes, I do look familiar to you.
How could you concede the election on the day? How could you concede the 2004 election on the day? When in this book it says there were 5 million votes that were suppressed and you won the election. Didn't you want to be president?
Once again, Wall Street was given a get-out-of-jail-free card. 3 GE Capital bankers that stole billions of dollars from American cities were released from prison in late November. After a 10-year case and conviction, the bankers were released on a legal technicality. The released bankers are part of a long history of Wall Street immunity to justice, which often starts in the prosecutor's office. Earlier this year, the U.S. Justice Department chose not to prosecute a single executive from HSBC, despite evidence of several different major crimes, including laundering billions of dollars from Mexican and Colombian criminal drug cartels. Unlike Wall Street, the rest of America is facing record prison time. 2.2 million Americans are currently in jail or in prison. Inside U.S. prisons, inmates reportedly produce 93% of U.S. paints and paintbrushes, 92% of U.S. stove assemblies, 100% of military helmets, and more, including products for companies including IBM, Boeing, Motorola, Microsoft, AT&T, Compaq, Dell, and Nordstrom's. While the U.S. violent crime rate has fallen drastically in the last 30 years, U.S. jails and prisons have had a 500% increase in population, thanks in large part to the efforts of private prison corporations. In the past decade alone, GEO Group and Corrections Corporation of America have contributed $45 million on campaign contributions. In addition to buying lawmakers to buying overpriced contracts for their private prisons, the private prison companies have spent millions seeking to ensure that laws create the maximum amount of prisoners. The private prison companies have lobbied to prevent marijuana reform legislation and also drove the passage of Arizona's controversial immigration law, SB 1070. 30 of the bill's 36 co-sponsors received campaign contributions from CCA, GEO Group, and/or private prison lobbyists. Federal immigration policy has also been altered for the private prison companies' benefit, with the feds creating Operation Streamline to criminally prosecute illegal immigrants and funnel more than $1.2 billion into the largely for-profit detention system in Texas. While crimes on Wall Street go unpunished, there are more men in U.S. jails, prisons, on probation, or on parole than there were enslaved in 1850. With the inhumane conditions, disgusting food, and costs to the prisoners, one could argue that even compared to the slaves, today's prisoners are getting a raw deal, along with the U.S. taxpayer. In the wake of Typhoon Haiyan, the $100 million question is, how much do charities actually give toward their cause? 3 years after collecting $360 million for the 11 Asian countries devastated by the tsunami of 2004, the Canadian Red Cross still had not spent $200 million of the donation they collected. After collecting $564 million in the wake of 9/11, the American Red Cross had only distributed $154 million months later. There have been several additional accusations of the Red Cross keeping donations, including after the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing and the 2010 earthquake in Haiti. Several well-known cancer charities have also reported questionable spending habits. After raising over $455 million at Relay for Life events in 2009, the American Cancer Society reportedly spent a mere $149 million on cancer research. The Susan G. Komen Foundation spent a mere 15% of the funds it received on breast cancer research, while paying their CEO over $600,000 in 2011. Several other popular charities have reported CEO salaries ranging from $600,000 to $1.2 million, including the March of Dimes, the United Way, UNICEF, and the American Cancer Society. On the receiving end of cancer research money, there are several new reports of cancer researchers caught fabricating findings with the end goal of selling more pharmaceuticals. While the American Cancer Society reportedly has close ties to the makers of cancer drugs and mammography equipment. To find out which charities are sharing the highest percentage of donations received, many people turn to charity rating services. Like the charities they rate, not all charity rating services are created equally. Charity Navigator, a popular charity rater, lists the Red Cross as giving 90% of donations to programs. According to another charity rater, Charity Watch, while charities often claim that 90% of donations are spent on programs, the programs can include many activities that most donors would not consider to be the bona fide programs they are intending to support. While Charity Watch's articles bluntly assess the charities they critique, Charity Watch itself gives the Red Cross an A- rating. Another charity rater, GiveWell, doesn't print harsh reviews, but does highlight the charities it finds highly effective. All three services have a list of the most effective charities and have highly rated alternatives to the Red Cross. Effective charity lets donors know that they made a difference in the world. Abolish Slavery is a group whose founder this reporter has met personally. Aaron Cohen spent years freeing modern-day slaves and has presently turned his attention to freeing people from debt slavery. Strike Debt is an organization buying medical debt, housing debt, and more for pennies on the dollar and tearing up the debt. My personal favorite charity, Kids Creating Peace, brings Palestinian and Israeli kids together to learn how to overcome reactive behavior and bring peace with each other. Well, today, the biggest receivers of charity in the United States are actually giant corporations. A recent report found that federal government gave out $92 billion in corporate tax breaks and subsidies in 2006 alone, including billions to ExxonMobil, Monsanto, and General Electric. Of course, the biggest corporate welfare belongs to Wall Street, as the U.S. government gave $700 billion in bailouts in 2008 to the Wall Street banking cartel. Instead of bailing out the banks, one country facing a financial meltdown decided to let its three largest banks fail, ensured depositors got their money back, and gave debt relief to the homeowners. After aiding its citizens and imprisoning rather than rewarding criminal bankers, Iceland's unemployment and inflation levels have decreased and housing prices are on the rise. Iceland recently announced plans to write off up to 24,000 euros off every household's mortgage, with foreign banks left holding the bag. With the U.S. trying to print its way out of disaster and China buying gold at record rates, Ron Paul recently said that Bitcoin could destroy the dollar. Here with me today is Travis Tolley, a cryptocurrency expert.
Thank you, Andrew. It's a pleasure to be here.
Travis, what's your experience with Bitcoin?
Well, I discovered Bitcoin a little over 2 years ago, and I was fascinated by the technology. I read as much as I could, and I've since been mining Bitcoin and a few other cryptocurrencies, and trading and learning as much as I can.
So what do you think Ron Paul means, that Bitcoin could destroy the dollar?
Well, historically all paper currencies go to zero, and the dollar is nothing special. So essentially we have a new monetary system every 30 to 40 years, and the people in charge of the US dollar will print as much as they can to pay their bills back with cheaper dollars in the future. Whereas Bitcoin has a cap of 21 million coins, so no one can ever make more Bitcoin than the imposed limit.
What do you think Ron Paul means, that Bitcoin could destroy the dollar?
Well, I haven't heard his that exact clip yet, but he probably means that the dollar is very inflationary, where there's the money printing adds more and more to the supply, and prices have to absorb the increased supply, whereas Bitcoin is inherently deflationary, meaning that it preserves wealth over the long term. As opposed to the dollar, we're so used to it devaluing, and we're so used to paying higher prices for goods and services, which isn't normal for a solid money system.
So how do you see Bitcoin's role in the future? And are there any other cryptocurrencies people should be paying attention to?
Bitcoin in the future, it's already surpassed the transaction volume of PayPal and now Western Union, and with the low fees, it's set to continue to grow and just disrupt the financial industry more and more. Someone recently moved $150 million for less than 10 cents.
Wow.
And a bank would charge in the hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that. And this is almost instant.
Wow. And as far as other cryptocurrencies, do you see anything being on the level of Bitcoin in the future, or anything that is a silver in a sense, to Bitcoin's gold?
Right. Well, actually, someone did fashion a cryptocurrency called Litecoin, and they positioned it to be just that, the silver to Bitcoin's gold. It has a silver emblem, and right now the market cap of Litecoin is just touching $1 billion. I started it when it was pennies, 6 cents or so less, and just recently it hit $48 a coin. And then besides Litecoin, there's Pure Coin, there's Prime Coin, there's dozens of new coins. The software is open source, so anyone can really make a coin. It just depends on the adoption, really, how much people are willing to spend on electricity and mining to keep that currency going.
Thank you, Travis, for For more advice, you can find Travis on Twitter at Travis_Tolly.
Thank you, Andrew.
Our last segment is a special project called WeAreChange Music. To provide an outlet for independent music and to finance this show, we are bringing you the best underground artists that you've never seen. We hope to bring you WeAreChange news every week with a new music video, but only you can make that happen. For hip-hop with soulful lyrics and fresh beats, stay tuned for exact change projects. You gotta have heart.
The great thing about jazz, it's able to live, to survive, and assimilate, incorporate the best things from all other kind of music, which is really the reason I think that it survives. You know?
At times it seems this world is really dreamlike, but when I sleep at night I don't awaken to a real life. Scenes swirl and fade away into the gallery. My mental memoirs, images, scenes splattered on the walls, along with the echoes of the calls heard from the herd, urgently urging me to follow them through the dirty depths of the earth, where the urchins be wallowing, searching for a better tomorrow, hoping dollars lead direct to a life without sorrow. But I'm hung up in the mind frame of my reality. Casualty walks in a soft life without a strategy, strolling through the hallways of past personalities, dwelling on quotes, anecdotes, and analogies. Naturally, the plot has been unfolding magically. I'm hoping to coax most folks to see the patterns. It's tragic that the average cat is focused on the salary, aggravating happiness until it's just a casualty. Time to start searching for a deeper purpose. Feeling nervous as you reach the surface and you realize that the green paper that you've been worshiping is really worthless. And that'll flip your whole analysis. And smooth talking, walkers pace suspended in paralysis. The scale of happiness and money hunger never balances. Overstimulated brains numb beneath the calluses. Ashes on remains of what was once smooth and unscarred. Beneath the rubble bubbles, a semi-functional junkyard, reflecting on the remnants of the laughter and pain. Darkness and rain, the sun shines after again, to brighten dark corners of the mind with a new hope. Many mental stains, you ought to try to use a new soul. A new approach to the daily day. I'm seeing life in a very revolutionary way. Here today, a product of evolution, but mental pollution's making you aloof for the solution. It's a never-ending battle of defending retribution. If you withdraw from the fight, it's impossible to lose it. Stop moving. Stop moving. I won't stop dropping proper flows. If you wanna build, catch me out in the Galapagos, swimming alongside sea turtles and bottlenose, overcoming obstacles, tropical survival mode, analyze anomalies, politicking on philosophies that Darwin wrote. Like, are we losing the soul, refusing to grow? And is the new true with an old? Rumors retold, but who could remold the foundation of the blueprint and code of the land where our roots stand? Truth and collective minds combined from a crude past in two hands, past the moon and the Milky Way. The two transcend steps of time and space, where knowledge and music are well guarded in a high place. Taking it easy on the ground, it's a fine pace, but I'm reaching for the skies right now while I wait.
One fight, that doesn't mean you lose the war. You have to have heart. So if you don't have heart, you can't be in this business. You gotta have heart. If you don't have heart, you don't make it.